for souls, transforming worlds to a better wonder to behold. No poverty, zero hunger for the elderly or younger. Good health and well-being, good education, empowering women to become sensation. Clean water, sanitation is a right of every nation. Economic growth inclusive and sustained through industry innovation and purely dedication. Yeah, infrastructure be gain, reduce inequality for sure. Make human settlements secure. Take urgent actions to combat climate change. Conserve life below water and land. Ensure we do not estrange. Justice for all the peaceful and empathetic nations. Let us all partner to achieve these goals and provide much needed salvation. Each one teach 10, no compensation. Each one teach 10, no compensation.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining. A very good morning, good evening, namaste, hola, bonjour, gerimate, terve, and marapan. This is Namya Joshi, your host for the day. Welcome to episode 108 of the podcast, Each One Teach 10, an amazing world of STEM, an inspiring venture where we'll be discussing that STEM is part of every day for every kid. We all will learn together how to build a STEM culture. Today, we're joined by a remarkable guest, a global change maker in education and edtech, a passionate voice for creativity in the classroom, and a force behind meaningful educator engagement, Ms. Jornea Armant, the CEO of Savvy Creations. Hello.
Hello. So happy to be here, Namya.
I'm really happy and honored to have you on my podcast. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. I am so excited about the questions that you have prepared for today. But before we even get into that, I just want to tell the world that I have witnessed you essentially grow up. And the student that you saw at the original intro with that flip grid, empower every voice shirt is a student who has made remarkable change across the world. So this is my first thing. Whoever's out there watching, whether you are a student, a parent, a teacher, you can make a difference and change the world. And you're looking at someone right now, Namya Joshi, who has done that. So I just want to take a moment of gratitude and tell you, thank you for all that you have done.
Thank you so much, Jornea. That means a lot, and I'm really grateful for you to say that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so before we begin with the amazing questions that I have for you, I'd like to apprise the audience a little bit about you. Jornea Armant is the founder and CEO of Savvy Creations, and she's a tech enthusiast and AI in education facilitator for over 20 years of experience in the field of education. Currently, she's also a senior program manager for Milestone Technology Incorporation in support of Google, formerly the principal head of engagement for Microsoft Learning Flip. She's also led initiatives involving inclusive, equitable, and accessible learning tools, including Microsoft Flip, formerly Flipgrid, Math Solver, and Microsoft Copilot. She's dedicated to lifelong learning, serving others, and inspiring educational innovation through her presence at conferences, virtual events, and serving as a mentor to fellow educators, and of course seeking those roles in technology. So thank you so much again for being on the podcast. Well, Jorney, your path is one that many educators can look up to. You've led with innovation in every role you've held, from being a classroom teacher and a principal to your dynamic work at Flip. What personal experiences shaped your journey into education and edtech leadership?
Yes. So my actual journey to education started off when I was in high school. I went to an all-girl Catholic high school. It's actually the oldest all-girl Catholic high school in the United States, founded in 1727. And there was a motto. The motto was Serviam, which means I will serve. It's Latin for I will serve. And that motto became a living part of who I was in high school and continue to be today. And so in high school, one of the pieces that went right along with that motto, I will serve, is actually serving community by volunteering. And so we volunteered in various capacities across the community. And one thing that I really learned about myself during that time frame is that I had a real draw and passion for working with students, working with younger children. There's something about just the excitement and curiosity that children possess when it comes to learning. And they really just want to be loved in that process, right? And so that was the initial brink of, maybe this is something I should explore. Well, of course, I had that passion within me. But then I also had society on the other side, stating, well, if you really want to be able to either have an impact or have a great job, you should go into maybe a medical field. So that's what I explored originally when I started college. I will say I found out very quickly that that was not what I wanted to do. And so I did change my major after my freshman year in college to education. And I have loved that decision ever since. Now, really, once I started teaching, I was a second grade teacher. And I guess because I had that passion already within me, and then learning these best practices that will help my students transform their learning experiences, my principal, other school leaders saw the things that I was doing in my classroom, also saw the, I would say, like innate leadership abilities that I possess, like with my team. And so when leaders see that, they tap into those qualities. And so, of course, they started asking me to do other things to kind of utilize my leadership skills at the school level. But it wasn't until 2005, we had a natural disaster here in New Orleans called Hurricane Katrina. And during that time frame, many students were displaced all over the United States at that moment. And that was a real defining moment for me as an educator, because at that moment, educators also became first responders. Educators who absolutely cared about their students, wanted to ensure that they were safe, that they had the things that they needed to survive. And so that really shifted my perspective and shifted my purpose. And I realized education wasn't just about the information that was exchanged within the classroom. It really was about transforming lives. So later, as a school leader, I witnessed firsthand how technology could really also transform those learning experiences and amplify our students' voices. I became an instructional technology coach within the district that I was working in. And my role was to help educators implement best practices in their classrooms. And so during this time frame, this is like when I would say like the Google Apps for Education first started to be utilized by teachers and students, when collaborative documents became a thing. And so being able to see that now we have the ability to not only amplify student voice, but truly empower students to share their voice in various ways through these technology tools, really became a part of my personal mission when it comes to educational equity. If we have a passion for learning and a passion for ensuring that our students have the best experiences. And we advocate for tools that can really allow our students to not only be who they are, but really expand, their wealth of knowledge, but also their reach. Just like this podcast right now is going to reach people all over the world, right? Technology has that power. And so it became my personal mission to support educators in learning how to utilize these tools to truly empower their students' voices.
Wow, I must say your journey in education and edtech leadership, like you said, began in high school, where you attended all girls school in US that emphasized on a powerful model of service, I will serve. And immersed in this ethos, you began volunteering in your community and quickly developed a deep passion for working with the students. Their enthusiasm fueled your own, marking their initial turning point, in your career aspirations. And although you have initially explored the medical field to, create a societal impact, you realized that wasn't really your true calling, and you made a bold decision to switch your major to education. And that's a decision that I believe that you've cherished ever since. So, like you mentioned, you started your career with second graders. Your innate leadership qualities were soon recognized, and even you came to know that the defining moment was in 2005 when you realized that education is not just about the classroom environment teaching them about the information, but it's about life transformation. And that was the experience that was able to ignite your commitment to empower more students, not just through traditional learning, but by leveraging technology as an amazing tool to elevate their voices and create lasting change. And nowadays, it's the utmost need of the hour to help students become more confident with technology and be able to share their thoughts and to be able to become those change makers and those impact creators to help other students around them as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that beautiful summary.
Thank you. Amazing. Well, throughout your journey, you've emphasized, on the power of creativity and collaboration in building learning communities. In this fast evolving digital age, how do you personally define instructional leadership?
Oh, that is a really great question, because during my master's program, I decided to actually have my master's degree. I'm sorry, not my master's degree, working on my doctorate degree in instructional leadership. My master's degree is in educational leadership. And so in thinking about what does it really mean for instructional leadership, it's not really directing people. It's about designing. It's about thinking about who's within this ecosystem and creating the learning spaces where curiosity is going to be your currency, and where maybe creativity is encouraged and connection is going to be the constant. And so in the digital age, the best leaders, I feel, are facilitators of experiences, right? They're not the gatekeepers of knowledge. They want to create the conditions for everyone to grow and thrive. So when I think about instructional leadership, first, you have to ground yourself in who's in the space. What is it that they need? So whether you're talking about students or whether you're talking about educators, and thinking about how do you design experiences for them to learn and grow. So part of the work that I've also done has been a facilitator of learning and instructional technology. And I remember at one conference, I decided to have a genius bar. You know how like Apple has like their genius bar where you can go in and you can get like tips and help and everything that you need to utilize like a device. So we had a genius bar for educators at this conference who were learning so much that, when you go to a conference, sometimes it's information overload and you get a lot of information, but it's hard to then decide What am I going to take action on? So this Genius Bar was like a space where educators could come and discuss and think about how they were going to implement some of these technologies in their classroom. Maybe they were curious. Maybe they had a certain project that they were working on in their classroom, and they wanted to figure out how might I utilize these tools. Now, what I learned from that experience is, one, educators do want to make changes and want to make a difference. Two, in the normal school day, it's not necessarily built in for them to have that time to explore those curiosities, authentically and without judgment, right? Like, it's okay not to know. I think the beauty is in the curiosity, the wanting of that knowledge to transform those experiences in the classroom. And so just thinking about that, leadership is not about having all the answers. It's providing those spaces for people to truly congregate. So whether that is virtually or in person, to discover what it is that they can bring forward. So that's what instructional leadership is to me. It's like planting those seeds and just trusting with, the things that you have planted, that with the right conditions, such as the collaboration, such as the creativity and the tools that come with that. And then also the courage, to break out of that fear that something beautiful is going to grow and come out of that. So I give kudos to all of the instructional leaders who build in time and space for educators to visit each other's classrooms, to learn about how they're implementing either a best practice or a certain tool in the classroom that fosters also the questioning and curiosity. Because once an educator can see, oh, this is how they're making it happen, they're going to ask better questions. They're going to now take that risk and try something new and different in their classroom. And then they also know that they're going to have someone there to support them along the way. So that's what it means to me to be an instructional leader in the digital age, providing just those conditions for people to thrive. And that's with the knowledge, the content, the process, and then, of course, those products, those digital products that will help them.
Absolutely. And I really like the way you mentioned that they will be, having the willingness to take the risks because they know they have an amazing educator community across the world, even, around them that could help them where they need, help. And wherever they're facing any issues, they're there to back them. And of course, you amazingly mentioned about the instruction leadership in today's age goes far beyond managing just the curriculum. It's about designing the intentional creative experiences where I really like the way you mentioned curiosity becomes the currency and every student is supported to grow and thrive. So you've emphasized that this effective leadership starts with understanding the who, identifying what that learners truly need, and then designing experiences that meet those needs meaningfully. You've also talked about a conference where you set up a Genius Bar for educators to help them choosing and implement the right technology in the classroom. And that really reflects your belief that instruction leadership is also about creating spaces and supporting educators who are passionate about making a difference, but what lacks is the time, and they might be constrained by that in school. But by fostering such environments where creativity is encouraged and collaboration is central, I think that's when leaders can become stronger and there is more responsive learning in the community.
Definitely. So thank you so much. Once again, just beautiful summaries of that content. It's great to hear it back, right? I love listening and consuming information.
Thank you so much. I really like the way you mentioned different things. And of course, the audience is enjoying the podcast, I'm sure. Moving on to our next question. Well, leadership often means embracing challenges head on. So, as a global leader working with educators across cultures and contexts, what have been the biggest hurdles in promoting the educator innovation, and how have you navigated to them?
Yes. Okay. So The first thing I want to say is that I embrace challenges. Struggles, obstacles, challenges are going to be a part of the process, right? Frederick Douglass had a quote that I absolutely love. If there's no struggle, then there will be no progress. So one of the biggest challenges so far that I've noticed is the fear of the unknown. And it doesn't matter what it is, whether we're talking about AI or if we're talking about different equitable practices, the constant across the board is fear of the unknown. So, many educators might worry. Let's say if we're talking about student agency, we know that's the best practice. If students can feel that they are empowered to make the choices for themselves in their learning environment, some educators may feel like, well, maybe I'm going to lose control if I let the students lead, right? So that thought is rooted in fear. Or let's say there's new tech tools that's being introduced. Maybe the educator will have in the brain, well, what if I fail at this new tool? What if I don't know how to utilize it appropriately? So instead of trying, they don't try at all because of fear, right? So I will say fear is the number one challenge. And the way that I overcome that fear with the educators who I work with is to reassure them that they are already innovators. As an educator, you are analyzing, synthesizing, being creative all at the same time, all day, every day. You are an innovator. This is nothing different and nothing new. So approach it in that same way. And where you have great knowledge and expertise, you're going to help somebody else along the way. And then you find that person who has the knowledge and expertise that you need, and you partner with them and you learn alongside them as well. So I like to reframe that fear. Yes, tech might seem scary, but remember, tech or anything that's a new innovation, they're tools. They're tools for communication. They're tools for storytelling. There's tools for connection. There's tools for equity. So if you believe in the power of stories, like I did as a second grade teacher, stories allow students to understand concepts better. So having a book allows me to share experiences that maybe my students don't know. So let's take that a step further. Yes, we can read a book by an author, but it would be even better if my students are able to collaborate with another class across the world and learn about their lived experiences, ask them those questions, etc. Right? And I know that would be better for my students. All right, so what will get me from point A to point B? Okay, I need a tool to help me out. So now I have the desire, I have my goal that I want to achieve. Now I have my barrier. What tool am I going to use and how am I going to utilize it effectively? And we have to know that every new tool, it's not going to come to us like overnight, right? It's going to take practice. Like this tool that we're streaming on right now, it's a tool that my team and I also utilized when I worked at Microsoft Flip. The very first time we used it, yes, there were bumps in the road. Yes, there were things that we did not know, but guess what? Every time we went live, we learned something different, right? We refined what we did. So once again, for any educators or students out there, yes, something new might feel scary for the moment in time, but you just have to dive in, take that risk, try it out, and you're learning from it along the way. It's like an experiment, right? And the best thing that I absolutely loved, especially working for Flipgrid and then Microsoft Flip, was that we had educators as a part of this process. So as they were trying things out and implementing the tool for new ways of learning for their students, we also were active in asking them questions about their experiences and how to make those experiences better. So that's the same thing that we need to do as educators for our students. Every day, yes, we're sharing information, we're engaging them in activities for learning, but we also need to take a step back and co-create with our students and also ask our students what's working for you, what's not working for you, what do you think we need to improve upon, what did we learn today as we utilize these new tools. And educators, don't be afraid to let your students lead in these areas. There were many times that I asked students, hey, explore this tool. Go ahead, and my friend Ann always says, push all the buttons, right? Like, we're not going to break it. And you come back and you tell me, what did you learn? What are some highlights that you suggest that our class uses the next time we try to utilize this tool, right? So yes, fear is that biggest challenge. And I like chef shows where they're given like these unique ingredients that they have never used before, right? And they have to be innovative. So think about like being a chef with these new ingredients in front of you. Like, yes, at first it's overwhelming, but bottom line, you're a chef. Like, you know how to cook, right? So you have those innate abilities inside. So even though there's that overwhelming like notion of like maybe fear, there could be some inspiration from maybe a recipe starter, right? That's
Mhm.
what I absolutely love about AI right now, is that you can start somewhere, right? And so
Mhm.
once you either have that recipe or that guide, you can then create the magic, right? So that goes along with support. So yes, fear is a challenge, but we can really conquer that challenge with the right supports needed for learning and implementation.
True that, absolutely. And you mentioned about the recipes, reminded me of an advertisement for Chat Gemini that
Yes.
came out. It was like there was this guy, there's no electricity, and he had to cook a cake, but all he had was three ingredients. I remember carrot. So he just asked, like, hey, Gemini, I have these ingredients. Let me know how I can make a cake from these. And it actually worked. So that
Yes.
depends upon how you use it. You can either go and sulk, oh my God, my parents are coming back home. How do I make a cake? Or you can use your brain and use AI with the help of making a good recipe. And that's how you start working. So that's where you're utilizing, smart work over hard work. And
Yes.
you mentioned about fear. Well, that's when you have to face everything and rise. And you mentioned about, challenges as essential because they are catalyst for growth. And of course, without struggle, like you said, there is no progress. And reminds me of this quote that I read that people usually speak is we cannot discover new oceans unless we have the courage to lose a sight of the shore. And that's what the educators have to realize, that no matter how many problems that you're facing, you have to focus on how to overcome them and how you can bridge gaps to deep understanding, and of course, encourage students in amplifying their stories. So you have mentioned about your global work with educators across diverse cultures and contexts. One of the biggest hurdle was to the fear of unknown, but when it comes to student agency and integrating new technology, we have to focus upon taking the first step towards meaningful innovation and use technology not as something that's fearful, but something that is a powerful tool for fostering connection, promoting equity, and amplifying our stories. And that's when, these stories are able to build deeper understanding. And of course, like you mentioned, cross cultural learning. So your approach is, of course, to, focused upon learning alongside educators and emphasizing that each new tool and application brings in a new opportunity to grow and adapt together.
Absolutely.
I have a fun question to ask you. Which is your most influential book or movie that you have watched or read?
Oh my goodness. Most influential. Oh, there's so many. Oh my gosh, there's so many. Okay, so what I will say for right now, my favorite topic is AI in education. And so some friends of mine, Ken Shelton and Dee Lanier, they actually wrote a book called The Promises and Perils of AI in Education. And it's influential right now in my life because it has helped me, one, understand the biases that are available, readily available in the tools that we use, and how to spot those things easily, and then also advocate for better experiences for all with inside of those tools. So, I just chose that book for the moment in time because one, it is relevant. It is important if we want to talk about ensuring that we have equitable experiences across the board for everyone when we're talking about AI, which is a very powerful tool, right? And so, when we think about powerful tools, with great power comes great responsibility. We also have to have a responsibility to the populations of people who are utilizing the tool. So whether that is through experiences, so for example, if I am searching information about influential people in space exploration, and they only share about a certain country and their exploration, then I may not have a connection, or the advancements that people from my culture have attributed to that area is not being valued right at that moment in time. And so thinking about what data sets are being utilized, like, yes, it gave us some great information, but is it a complete story, or is it just a piece of a story and we have to uncover more information in the story?
Mhm.
So that's what I'm going for. That's going to be my most influential at this moment in time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, if somebody asks me, my answer would always be Ikigai, because when I read this book, it is basically reminding you your reason for being, that what is your reason for existence and your reason to get out of your bed every morning. That is what you love, your passion. What the world needs is your mission. What you can be paid for is your profession, and vocation, and what you can be good at is your profession.
Yes.
So it's going to help you to lead a long and happy life. At the same time, it can help you to remain calm even if you're facing a very tough situation. All you have to believe is in the consciousness, and come out of it no matter what happens.
So funny story. I 100% agree with you on that. Very amazing text. And so I have this visual where I put together what are my passions, what are the professions that align with it, what is my purpose in life. And when I was asked to join the team at Flipgrid, I actually sent a long email with that visual and what my personal mission and vision was in life, because I wanted to also make sure that there was alignment in the work that I was doing, right?
Yep.
And when you either read that text or take that work to uncover what your passions and your purpose and your I guess your gifts that you want to be able to give to the world, you don't think about things any differently moving forward. Like, your reasons and your purpose, and you have your guide. And so I will say to everyone, I'm sure not may you may put the link to that book in the show notes or something. But
Yep.
I really encourage everyone to take a moment, because it is self work, and that self work is going to validate everything about your self-worth. So take that time to do it. You will definitely be grateful for it.
Absolutely. And it also motivates you to write a gratitude journal every night before you sleep. So you can reflect on what you did today and what you can do better tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Right. So building on that, one theme we're seeing more and more is open innovation. So in your opinion, how does open innovation shape the future of classrooms and education technology?
Yes. So I believe open innovation democratizes education. So when Flipgrid was acquired by Microsoft, the CEO at Microsoft, Satya Nadella, he made a commitment at that moment that Flip would be forever free for educators to utilize in their classrooms, right? And so once again, this innovative tool could have provided barriers if it if it had a price tag on it for the educator, right? So stating that this tool would be a free tool for all educators to utilize allowed every teacher, no matter what area of the world you live in, no matter whether your students are multi-age classrooms or single-age classrooms, or it didn't matter. Everyone had access, which allowed education to be democratized. It also invites the teachers, the students, the families, and the people working on the edtech tools to be at the same table, right? To really have those important conversations about what is needed and how do we design things together, right? I love that about this era of educational technology. No more is it, okay, I made a tool. Here it is. It always starts off with that curiosity from educational technology companies. And if educational technology companies are not doing this, I encourage you to do this. First, go to your users, go to your community and say, what is it that you need? What is it that you're trying to solve? How might we be able to support you in those efforts, right? And so, this open innovation concept really allows us to move towards that collaborative process that tech is really made with this entire community. And that's really a game changer. It's beautiful to be able to see the rapid innovation that can happen when companies take a step back and listen and innovate and iterate on what they currently are doing. Also, I want to say it was maybe close to a month ago, I traveled to Los Angeles, California for Canva Create. This is where Canva shared all of their updates, to their tools. And one update that I was truly blown away with was the coding update. And the reason why is, one, we know we have to move from just being consumers to creators. The barrier in creating, especially with technology, is whether or not you have the knowledge and ability to code or not, right? And so with this update, even though I took a computer science class, I am not a coder, right? Like I can maybe, understand certain lines of code or maybe pick those things out or modify code that's already there. But with this update, I was able to create so many things because of that now open innovation and open access to their coding AI tool. So I've been having fun with it. I tried building a website. I tried building some games, a workout tracking tool. I think this is highly important in education. And granted, every tool has something similar, right? So Microsoft has something similar with AI agents. Google has something similar, like build with Gemini, build with AI. And so every tool has something very, very similar. And this is going to be the game changer in a classroom. No longer will a student just have to showcase a prototype of something. They really can build it, right? And I think that is what is going to now shape the future of education. It's not about, okay, what are you going to do to impact your community when you get a job 10 years from now? It's like, no, what can you do right now? You can make a difference right now and really change your communities by taking in the knowledge that you're gaining from your curriculum, pairing it with an amazing technology tool, and then sharing it back with your community for impact. So I'll share one example of that. I was a coach for the State Department of Alabama back in 2017. At the same time, I also was working on a project with Google to help impart knowledge and skills on new instructional technology coaches. And so one coach was trying to preserve a garden within their community, right? Now that's great for students to have that agency and ownership over the garden in their community. And they wanted to be able to have that garden be a space and place where people can learn and interact and give back, etc. So of course, one, they had to learn about the vegetation and everything that was already there. So that was their learning piece. Then the students had to think about, how are we going to educate other people? So they created videos and documents, and they with any web-based video or document, you have a URL. With that URL, they turned it into a QR code so that when people were in the garden, all they needed to do was scan the QR code, and then they received the information that they created. It wasn't another, a big company or nonprofit. It was the students who were actually making that happen. Now, to take things a step further with AI now that was 2017. I will be blown away what students will be able to do with AI now, because here's an example. In my own flower bed, I noticed this weird, like, yellow fungus or something growing in my flower bed. And I had no clue what it was, but I knew I did not want it there. So I took a picture of it on my phone. I asked my favorite AI tool to identify the what was growing in my flower bed, and also to help me make sure that it does not continuously grow, right? And so it was able to identify, it gave me the steps that I needed in a matter of seconds, right? So once again, the power of AI in our hands, in our mobile devices, will allow us to get to the action piece. We think a lot about the knowledge, the things we have to know, the things we have to uncover, but the gold is in the action, taking the action. And so it really lessens that time from the curiosity to learning to action when we're actually utilizing these tools. So the future is not pre-written. We are blessed, I will say, with this, I guess, idea that we can really shape our future. So open innovation really ensures that classrooms evolve with the changing time. It's not really anything that's ahead of us or behind us. We are the ones that are leading those charges. So we definitely just need to keep in our minds that we have to be that bridge between what's in our imagination and what we will implement, right? So we are that deciding factor. We can have all the information we want with AI. We have to be the ones to say, yes, we're going to make a difference. Yes, we're going to make a change. And now we're going to take action and do it.
I cannot agree more with you. Absolutely. Open innovation is and will be, I believe, a true game changer for the future of classrooms. And of course, even the education technology, because, like you said, it democratizes education. So when tools and resources come with the price tag, they create barriers. But when they're freely accessible, they open the doors for everyone to participate, to collaborate, and to gain the benefit. So it's for inviting all the stakeholders, educators, students, edtech developers to come at the same table and co-design solutions that can be relevant and meaningful. And like you said, for edtech companies, it starts with curiosity and the willingness to ask the users what do they need and how can we support them. And that is when you have a shift towards a more inclusive and collaborative environment that does not just ensure technology is meeting the classroom, but also fosters the need for a shared sense of ownership and empowerment across education community. And when you're talking about, of course, using AI, I think in today's generation, what matters is how well you structure your prompt. And you're able to get the best results when your prompts are better and they're better generated, of course. So that's how you stay irreplaceable. You bring in the dreams and the vision. AI does the hard work of making it happen.
Yes, absolutely.
It's amazing. And we've got a lot of comments coming in the chat as well, by Mr. Prableen saying, I second to your views, Jornea. If one has passion to do anything, you're already winning halfway.
Yes, that's a beautiful quote. Thank you for sharing that.
I totally agree to that. By Miss Monica Joshi, true instructing leadership is about creating spaces.
Yes, absolutely. Hi, Monica. I know Monica very well for being in this beautiful community. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you. And she can watch The Mentalist starring Simon Baker and Robin Tenney and number of times. I don't know how many times I've seen the whole series of all 7 seasons. I know during the lockdown, I've seen her binge watching it a lot of times. She's like, when you be a little bit older, you can watch it. And now I am, but I just don't have the time to see all the episodes. They're too long. Amazing. So we've had a great discussion today, and before we close, is there one final thought or key message you'd like to leave our audience with today?
Sure. First, I'm going to start off with one, education to me is all about improving lives for others and really leaving our communities better than how we found it, right? So I'm going to go back to that word I shared at the very beginning of our conversation, serviam, I will serve, right? So teachers, students, parents, never really underestimate the power of a curious mind, right? A curious mind is going to allow us to innovate. Never underestimate the power of a courageous heart, because a courageous heart is going to give us that passion, that willpower to try to make a difference, right? And I will also say, like, don't ever estimate the power of your courageous voice, because your voice can change the world. So that's what I want to leave all the teachers, students, parents, innovators that's out there, because you truly matter. We need you. We need each other. You're not just a part of this system. You're actually helping to shape the future of education. That's what it is all about. And it's not about how smart we are, as Namia just said. Like, we have this beautiful tool now that can rapidly fire information. It's really about how are you choosing to use the gifts that you've been given, the knowledge that you have, to serve other people and do good things on this earth. So that's what I want to leave with everyone else. You are the magic. Keep doing amazing things. And Namia, I really appreciate this time and the conversation that we had today.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate having you on my podcast. And like you said, that's the power of you. You have the power to do amazing things. And like to sum it all up, thank you so much, Jornea, for sharing your journey, your heart, and your vision with us today. From championing student voice to inspiring educators across the globe, your story is a vibrant reminder of what happens when passion, equity, and innovation come in together. And what truly resonated with me, and I believe with the audience as well, is your unwavering belief in the power of connection and your call to celebrate every learner's voice and the way you lead with both empathy and joy. You're reminding us that technology is not just the destination, it's that bridge to creativity, collaboration, and meaningful impact. So thank you so much for sharing with your thoughts with us today and for being on the podcast.
Amazing. Well, I hope everyone has a great weekend. Go out and do great things. And I will be in touch. You have my social handles. Feel free to reach out if you have any other questions beyond today. And Namya, keep inspiring the world.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining and listening to this podcast. I'll see you on the next one. Till then, each one, teach 10. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.